Good morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, the show centered around health and life insurance issues, especially Medicare coverage. This is Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right. Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. This has been kind of a whirlwind of a week as I'm recording today. We had our ribbon cutting last Friday to do the grand opening of our newest office. That's actually my fourth office. I don't know if I've mentioned that here. When I say my fourth office, I've worked in a couple different offices. I've done health insurance. When I first started with Health Markets back in 2014, I shared a office with another agent. It was actually kind of, I say shared, it was his office. And he let me work out of it, but so I started that in Oak Ridge. And the funny story there was, I've told it to a few people, that I kind of forget about it till the other day as I was going through pictures for the ribbon cutting. And it was a great little office. It was a real inexpensive rent. It was in a little kind of an office strip. At the end of the strip, there was an oil change place and laundromat across the parking lot from us. So people came in there. It was an easy place to tell people how to get to and everything. But the downside was between us and that oil change place was a dog groomer. And nothing against dog groomers, but it's really hard to talk to people, even on the phone, with the dogs yapping at the dog groomer. It was pretty bad. It was bad enough that I had a client I was talking to on the phone ask me what kind of dog I had because they thought it was my dog wanting to get out or something like that. We weren't even in the same section. It was, there was supposedly a wall between us, but the wall didn't cut out the noise that they could actually hear that dog over the phone. I was talking to them. But so that was the first office. And I tell this story. I started with Aflac. So I did a year with Aflac when I lived in Oak Ridge. And because they've had plenty of other people calling on businesses in the Knoxville area, the old go west young man. So they gave me a list of businesses and that I should call on that were more to the north and west of Oak Ridge. And one of the places I went to was the Roan Alliance. And the Roan Alliance is basically the umbrella organization for the tourism, business development in the Roan County Chamber of Commerce. So I got involved with the Roan County Chamber of Commerce, and so I thought, decided my friend was not renewing the lease at the place next to the dog groomer, so we both were kind of looking for different places to set up office. And so we went our separate ways. Nothing, no animosity or anything like that, but just we wanted to go literally in different directions. And so I decided to look for, a brick and mortar in Roan County, since that was the Chamber of Commerce that I was networking with, and found a little place in a building that used to be a real estate office. The recession of 2008 kind of hit that agency kind of hard, and so they closed up their real estate business, but they still owned the building, so they rented out different sections of it. So I had a nice little office there. It was actually furnished. They had some furniture in there and said, we'll get this furniture out of your way. I was like, well, if it's all the same to you, if I can use it and just leave it whenever I move out, I'm fine with you leaving it here. And they were happy to not have to store it. So that worked out great. It wasn't a lot of rent. And eventually, that's when I hired my first assistant. I hired Lori, a part-time assistant. She worked usually about 4 hours a day in the middle of the day. So there was somebody be at the office when I wasn't there because I had to go to meetings in Knoxville. I'd be out. I did a lot of, as we call it, road warrior in those days. And so it gave me somebody to be in the office when clients would come in. So I didn't lose business to somebody not being there to greet them. So that helped out a lot. But it really wasn't a great location. It was handy to where I lived. And it was easy to, pretty much to tell people how to get to. But there just wasn't other foot traffic. It really makes a difference when you're in an area where there's other businesses. People are coming to that business. They see your signage, and then when they need your help, they go, oh, there's that place right next. In my case now, right next to Domino's. I need to go there. So I moved to another location, actually further from my home, basically doubled my commute. But I ended up in a strip mall there that was near the VA clinic. There was a bar and grill just, a couple doors down from me there. And that definitely helped my visibility. So that was my second office. And then in 2020, we moved here to Cookville. And I wasn't even really looking to get an office, but at that time I was still working with health markets. And people in the Nashville office had a little satellite office for agents that lived in this area that could have a place to meet clients, but they decided they weren't going to keep up the rent on that. And so that was in Larry Brown Electronics building. It was very low rent for that. There was already a sign outside. I didn't have to get a new sign. So I decided to rent that office and was in that office for a year or so. And then Larry did some clean up and remodel what used to be his showroom at the front of the building. And it was a little bit larger space, and I needed space for me and an assistant. So I moved into that space, and it worked out pretty well until there was 3 of us in the office. That's when it didn't work well. So we started kind of looking for new digs, and I may have mentioned the story here, but I know I've mentioned I'm involved with Usher team at Life Church, and had got involved with the South Campus. We were meeting at Prescott Middle School there for a year or so, and they decided to cease operations there along with the expansion of adding the Baxter campus. And they had an office that in a storefront that they'd rented for the church office for that campus alone. And I was able to go ahead and help the church out by taking over that lease. And they'd already done some build out in the office. So it worked out great for me because it had a ready-made office, didn't have to go in and paint. I have an office where I can go and close the door, and the young ladies in my office don't have to listen to me on the phone when I'm with clients, or, have that privacy with clients that are there at the office. So that works out great. As I mentioned, we did the ribbon cutting last week. So, and one of the things that was one of the whirlwinds. The other one is just this past week with everybody in my office, every one of us is helping other families enroll in their health care, and we've had, I believe right now, just in a week's time, 6 households, and I say households because sometimes it's an individual, sometimes it's a family, that we've helped enroll in their health care. And some of them are people who have been here for a while and something changed and they lost their coverage. And then we've got the people who are, everybody's moving to Tennessee from everywhere. So we've got those too. So we've been taking care of quite a few folks, and they're finding us because they're going on Google and reading our reviews. And that's one of the things I want to ask you folks to help me out with, is if you'll just Google Matt Libby Insurance and go to our business page and do a review. If you like the show, say something about how you like the show, or if we've been able to assist you with your insurance or find someone who can help you. I get calls for people that, like, hey, I need to get a will. I need, I need to do some estate planning. I need to do something with my 401k. And I've got connections to estate lawyers and financial planners, and so in home and auto, as we say, P&C, property and casualty agents. I don't do that. So, I can point you in a direction, give some recommendations of who I would say, recommend you talk to, or I don't have a problem with telling you who I have my insurance with. I'm not going to do it today on the radio, but if you ask me who I have, I can tell you who I have and why I like that plan or like that agent, and we can go from there. But if you would, just go, Google Matt Libby Insurance and click on reviews. Hopefully you can give me a 5-star review or say something nice you like about this show, because obviously I'm asking the people who are listening. So go ahead and leave a comment there about the show. If you don't have a nice comment, on insurancematchmaking.com, we've got that question forum there that you can post comments and they're sent to us. If you something you don't like about the show, send that to me there. Don't put it on the Google, preferably. I mean, I can't make you not give me a negative review, but we really want to keep up those positive reviews, because one of the last people I talked to last evening, and I said, did somebody here recommend me to you, or did you just Google it? She said, oh, yeah, we found you online and you have great reviews, so we decided to give you a call. So those really help. And the more, thankfully, I've gotten a few new ones just this last week, because we didn't have a lot of, new reviews. We had great reviews, but they were getting a little dated, as they say. So hopefully you can help us out with getting those out and helping people find us. I'm doing these YouTubes, I think, helps, even if people aren't listening or subscribing, to the to the YouTube channel. And if you would do that, please also. But the algorithms, as they say, that help find what you're looking for. The more, it's kind of funny. I'll go to Google health insurance or Google my name, and I come up with a lot of different listings. Whether it's a networking website that I've tested out, there's everybody's familiar with Facebook and probably LinkedIn and Twitter, and I don't really now it's called X. I don't really do much with that one, but I'm on there, and just so that one I use more just kind of see what other people are saying. But again, it just, the more things that I've put my name on, the more that comes up in the Google searches. So that helps. The more activity there, the more it helps people find me, and that helps my business succeed and helps me to help more people. So that's great. I want to talk a little bit, and probably do it after the break again, about some of the fraud and things that are going on. But I do want to get a couple plugs in for upcoming events. I've started doing the bingo at the senior center, and so on June 14th, we'll be doing that again. That'll be the second one that I do. It's traditionally the second Saturday of the month is when second Friday of the month is when I'm the sponsor for that, and I just did the first one here in May. I had a lot of fun with that, and they seem to enjoy and get little prizes. Doesn't cost me a lot of money to do that, but it helps me get a little bit more involved in the community, so I'm happy to do that. And then we've always talked about our Medicare 101 workshops. We've got 2 of those this month in June. On the 17th, that's a Monday, we'll be here at the Cookville Library. And then Thursday, the 20th, I'll be at the Cumberland Business Incubator there on the Rhodes State campus, which is the same as is the Genesis Road exit there where Buc-ee's and the Pilot are. It's down there past the high school. So hopefully you can find that, or if you know somebody, maybe attend that. And then on that same Thursday, the 20th, at 2 o'clock, I'm going to do what I'm calling Medicare 201, and that'll be at my office. And the reason I'm doing it at my office, because one of the things I can't do in those educational workshops is name names. I can get a little bit more into why I'm recommending certain plans, or why I may or may not recommend a company, and I can do that in that private setting. Still not going to push you to buy something that day. It's still going to be informational, but I'm going to have a little bit more leeway of being able to talk about some specifics and answer some of those specific questions that I just can't answer in a public education setting. So hopefully, if you want to dig in a little deeper on the Medicare, and you may already be on Medicare and kind of want to know, hey, when fall comes around, should I maybe switch to another plan? That's one of those things you can kind of see if that's something you want to look into. So we're coming up on the break here, and right after that, I'm going to talk about some of the things that are concerning me.
Looking to spruce up your home without breaking the bank? Visit Habitat Restore for incredible deals on furniture, appliances, home decor, and more. Plus, when you shop at Habitat Restore, you're not just getting great deals, you're also supporting your local community. Are you looking to make a meaningful impact? Consider donating to Habitat Restore. Your generosity can make a world of difference. Habitat Restore, open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and located at 560 South Jefferson Avenue in Cookville.
This is James Green, your local Twin Lakes security sales consultant. This summer, whether you're off on a grand vacation or enjoying a staycation in your own backyard, our smart home solutions make it a breeze to keep tabs on everything. With our remote video monitoring, alarm notifications, and power outage alerts, you can enjoy your summer worry-free. Already have a security system? No problem. Switch to Twin Lakes today and score 3 months free monitoring on us. To learn more, call 931-528-2005 or visit us online at twinlakes.net.
Twin Lakes Security, TN Cert C-0026.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance, hosted by Matt Libby.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully you learned something from one of those commercials. So I've been talking about some fraud issues, and I brought it up in the last couple of shows, but I want to hit it again because the client that Bree had took care of back at the first part of the year. I guess it was during open enrollment for January plan. Lady has some health issues, and it has some surgery coming up here soon, and found out that her health plan had been changed. And she'd called us a week or so ago and asked us some questions, and we're like, no, that's a scam. Do not talk to those people. Unfortunately, she'd already talked to those people when she'd called us, and they'd gotten enough information. And I don't know, if this is most times I think I'm going to name names, because this is what it seems to be the ones people are doing it with, is she's on a Blue Cross plan. And for her, that was the important plan because, like I mentioned, she had some health concerns. And her doctors were in network. That was the plan that worked for her. Well, she answered one of those ads. I don't know if they called her first or something, but they said, talked to her that they were going to get her a free food card. Folks, please, hopefully you listen to me, but also, be concerned with your loved ones that, if somebody's offering something for free, don't just call that 800 number. As the old saying, nothing's free. And in this case, it was purely a scam. She was not getting any kind of food card. There is no food card with an ACA marketplace plan. They just don't exist. There are they do some like rewards cards of like, they do same thing. Medicare Advantage plans do this of, hey, you go and get your checkup, or you get your flu shot, or you go to the gym, and you record that. They actually will pay you incentives for doing it. But that's from the insurance company. They'll send you a debit card. There's nobody, like I said, there's nobody giving out a free food card. And there are some Medicare Advantage plans that have food cards. But that's, again, it's not from Medicare. It's not a separate thing, but if you give them enough information, they will switch you to another plan or switch your loved one to another plan. And that's what happened to this lady. We found out, and the reason I bring this up, Bree spent over 2 hours on the phone with this woman and the healthcare marketplace fighting to get her back onto her Blue Cross plan. And most of the time what they're switching the people to is to Ambetter, because Ambetter does have that incentive card, but it's, again, it's because you did certain things that, that hopefully take care of your health. Nothing against Ambetter, but the reason people were doing it is Ambetter generally would be a lower premium than a Blue Cross. So what they would do is they'll switch the person to the Ambetter plan, and a lot of times they'll get into a plan where it's going to be a zero premium. So they're hoping there's going to be a month or two before that person realizes they've been switched. And then they have to go through the hassle, because most people, you go to the doctor maybe once every 3 months is common, or, once every 6 months, once a year. And so if nothing's happening, you're not going to the doctor, nothing's coming out of your check to show you that you're paying for another health plan. And so they don't realize they've been switched. And these unscrupulous agents are collecting commission on that whole time. We talk about in sales, it's a numbers game. You talk to enough people, you'll sell something. The old saying, a blind squirrel will find a nut every once in a while. We do that in sales. They're using it as the opposite. They're going to get a whole bunch of them, and they might get a couple complaints but they're still running the risk of, hey, we're probably not going to get caught. Or, and sometimes, I think there's some of them are people who want to be legitimate agents, and they don't realize that their company is telling them to do something illegal. And so what happens is they're doing this, the company's getting paid the commission, and then when it comes down to they get caught, like we did with this one, they'll go, oh, that agent doesn't work for us anymore. We didn't realize this is one of the ones we missed that they had done illegally. So they may pay a fine. But there again is the fines aren't enough to deter them from doing these, because they're still coming out ahead. So it's kind of like if you're speeding. It's like, if I get a speeding ticket, I'd rather pay the ticket than lose my job because I'm late for work. So you do that trade-off of, is the punishment strong enough to deter you from committing the crime, so to speak, versus, hey, I don't want to pay the fine. And we had a lot of people that were, when the ACA first came out and they had the tax penalty if you didn't get insurance. A lot of people go, I don't want to get a tax penalty. So they signed up for insurance. The first couple of years, it didn't apply. And then in the years it did apply, the cost of the insurance was still more than the tax penalty. So we put people a lot of times that on other plans, like we call the short-term plans, that didn't meet the requirement to keep you from getting the penalty, but the difference in premium was more than what the penalty was for not getting the ACA plan. So it was it didn't have any teeth. And it's made our lives a lot simpler, really, since they did away with the penalty. Could it come back? Sure. Government loves to put penalties on things. That's like the Part D for Medicare. Part D, they do there's a late enrollment penalty if you don't sign up for Part D when you first go on Medicare. It's not a huge penalty, but when you do get it, it doesn't go away. But the reason they did that was they put money into, they were going to have this Part D program, and there weren't enough people signing up for it because they'd been, people had been going for years with not having any drug coverage with their Medicare. So why am I going to pay a premium for a plan now that I'm not using? And back then they were probably $15 to $20 a month maybe for a drug plan. But they're like, I don't take anything, or the two things I take cost less than $10. Why do I need a prescription plan? So they were electing not to get them. So the government decided they needed to put a penalty and say, all right, if you don't sign up when you're first eligible, we're going to assess a penalty when you do sign up. And they do the same thing with Part B, which is your health care portion of your Medicare. And one of the things, and actually just reading something yesterday on that, was a lot of veterans, especially if they're, over 50%, especially 100% service disabled, they're like, why do I need Medicare Part B? I do everything at the VA. I get my drugs from the VA. And so they don't sign up for Medicare. They're fine if they don't. They have health care. But if something comes up, and the example somebody used, well, what if they get non-service related cancer, because they may be 100% disabled, but it's because they hurt their back, not because they were exposed, like Camp Lejeune or Agent Orange in Vietnam, those things that are tied to cancers. If you would need to go to Medicare for that care because the VA is not covering it, you'd have to get Part B. And if you didn't get Part B when you were first 65, then you're going to have a penalty. So I generally recommend that veterans still go ahead and get Part B, because unfortunately your VA health care is not creditable coverage for the Part B of Medicare, so you would be on the hook for the late enrollment penalty if you get Part B later. And you can only sign up for Part B like that during what they call the general election period, which is the first 3 months of the year. They got a little bit better on it. It used to be you'd sign up in January, February, March, and it wouldn't start till the 1st of July. Now it starts the 1st of the month after you sign up, but you still only have a 3-month window each year to sign that up. So if you get sick, and just using the cancer example, you get cancer in May and you don't have Part B, you won't have Part B coverage until February of the next year, because you can't enroll for it until January, and then it takes effect in February. So that's one of the reasons why it makes sense to have Part B. The other is if you're using the VA for everything, that's why a lot of Medicare companies, the Advantage plans, they have those Advantage plans, and they have nice military and patriotic sounding names to them because they are geared towards the veterans who would use the VA. But they'll have the Part B givebacks, maybe not the whole Part B, but they'll, some of them are pretty generous. They have generous dental coverage. They have generous over-the-counter benefits, vision benefits, and so they're on. Some of those have food cards that you can, $50 a month to go spend on groceries. So they help make up some of that cost of having Part B. But they also, the convenience of some of the other things. So those are some plans to help. So if you're a veteran, I'm a veteran, I have a Medicare plan, I have TRICARE, I had to get Part B, and that's the other thing. Be very cautious if you are on a veterans program. You have to, if not VA, but if you are on TRICARE, you have to get your Part B and pay for Part B, or your TRICARE will go away. To get TRICARE for Life, as it's called, you have to have Part B. The same thing with CHAMP VA. And CHAMP VA is a little more critical of, you kind of need to notify CHAMP VA that you signed up for Part B. TRICARE seems to to catch it, but Champ VA doesn't always. So if you have Champ VA and you're signing up for Medicare, make sure Champ VA knows that you've got your Part B, because if they show you don't have Part B, they'll cancel your insurance, and then you have to fight to try to get that back. So those are some things for the veterans. As I mentioned before the break, we do have a couple of Medicare 101 workshops coming up in June 17th here in Cookville and the 20th at the Cumberland Business Incubator. I don't want to say take off. I'm not going to have in a public place Medicare 101 workshops for the month of July. We haven't had a big turnout the last couple months in the summer, so I think I'm going to hold back a little bit on mailing out invitations, so not paying that postage to do events in July. But I think what I'm going to do is just set up a couple sessions, maybe put out events on Facebook and announce it here on the radio too. I'm going to do it at my office, because it's much simpler if I schedule something for 6 o'clock at my office and it's 6:15, no one's shown up. I just pack up and go home. I didn't have to pack up and go somewhere else and be there a half hour early to be prepared for people to come in. I'm able to just be prepared there at the office, and if nobody comes, then I call it a night and go home. So that's what I think I'm going to do in July. And if we start getting good turnout for those, I may elect to just start doing them all at the office, or just do the other locations, maybe once a quarter, just for people who are a little bit further out that come into the office isn't convenient to do that. So we'll play that by ear. And then, of course, in July, we start getting ready for our enrollment season. That's usually either the last part of June, early part of July. The insurance carriers, the Medicare carriers, will open up for their certifications, and then we can log on and get the certification for what we call the AHIP. It's American Health Insurance Professionals, I think is what it stands for. It's a nonprofit, but they do the certification test that we have to take every year to be able to offer the Medicare Advantage and the Part D prescription plans. So we do those every summer. So I end up busier in the summer just, doing certifications to be ready for the fall. And as I like to say, from October to December, we're really busy. The rest of the year we have to work. And the reason I say that is the phone just rings. Phone rings, people come in, people schedule appointments, and we're just running appointments. And then we go, oh, wow, it's Christmas. So, but that's what I kind of talked about this last week. It felt like it was open enrollment. We were that busy. So until next time, see you on the radio. Make sure you go to insurancematchmaking.com to leave any questions or whatever about the show. And if you would, Google Matt Libby Insurance and leave us a great review. Would really appreciate that. That helps us get the word out and helps us to help more folks out there. So have a great one, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.